Have you ever been judged without even people knowing your story? What if I told you that sometimes people don't misunderstand you? They make you feel like you don't belong. So, hi everyone. Today I'll be sharing my reflection on Carin Taylor's talk, Belonging, a critical piece of diversity, equity, and inclusion. So, this talk really made me realize something important. Diversity and inclusion are not enough if people don't actually feel like they belong. So, first muna, what is belonging? For me, belonging means feeling accepted, valued, and wanted. Like people genuinely wanted you in a room. It is just a sense of connection wherein you don't have to pretend or explain yourself just to fit in. In a context of diversity, equity, and inclusion, belonging is a feeling that even if people are different, they are respected, accepted, and truly part of the group, not just present but valued. One thing I learned is that belonging is a different for everyone. What makes me feel accepted might not be the same for you. But how is belonging different from diversity, equity, and inclusion? Diversity is about having different kinds of people. Equity is about giving fair opportunities. Inclusion is about making sure everyone is invited and involved. But belonging goes deeper. It is about how people actually feel. You can have diversity, equity, and inclusion, but if people still feel judged or uncomfortable, then belonging is missing. And that's why it is essential, because without belonging, everything else doesn't fully work. Another thing that stood out to me is sometimes what people do to you, you also start doing it unconsciously. If people judge you, you also might start judging others too. And that's how exclusion continues. And this is why belonging is so important. There will never be true diversity and inclusion if there is no belonging. You can be in a group but still feel alone. You can be included but still feel invisible. And also empathy, care, and compassion should stand tall, especially when we lead people, because leadership is not just about power. It is about making people seen, heard, and valued. And I realize this doesn't only apply to leaders, it also applies to all of us in a way we treat people in every day. And when those things are missing, even in our daily interaction, it can really affect someone. And when I think about it now, I realize it wasn't just something I observed, it was something that I experienced. Something I didn't notice at first, but that slowly changed me too. When I started seeing other young people carrying babies, I caught myself judging them. And that's when it hit me. I was becoming the same kind of a person that hurt me. I was becoming who I hated. And that made me think back to my own experience. I remember when I was around 12 or 13 years old, I was always the one taking care of my baby sister. Whenever we went outside, people would look at me in a very judgmental way. It wasn't just one kind of look. It was a mix of disgust, disappointment, curiosity, and sometimes straight up judgment. Sometimes they would even ask me, "Anak mo yan?" And some would even lecture me saying I was too young to have a child. And over the time, that affected me. When I was with my sister, I started trying to look more presentable just so people wouldn't judge me. I would comb my hair, put pulbos on my face just to look fresh and not haggard. Because I feel like when people see you looking tired and haggard, it adds to their judgment. It makes them more convinced that I was the mother. I would even say things like, "Saan na si mama?" or "Kiss mo si ate," just to prove that I wasn't her mother. So when I think about how I judge people, especially young girls carrying babies, that moment really broke me, because I asked myself, why would I do that? Why would I unconsciously judge others? I should have been more open-minded, more understanding, especially since I've already been through that kind of situation myself. And realizing that I have become the person I hated, it made me feel devastated. It made me feel deeply emotional. It made me reflect myself deeply. That's when I knew that I needed to change that kind of mindset. And that's connect to what I learned in the video. Sometimes what people do to you, you also start to doing it unconsciously. So what can we do? First, never undervalue someone because of how they look. We don't know what people are going through or what their story is. So what can we actually do in real life? It doesn't always have to be big actions. Sometimes simple things like not judging quickly, being careful with our words, or just trying to understand someone before making assumptions. We can make people feel like they belong just the way we treat them in everyday situation. Second, create spaces where people feel like they truly belong, not just included. Because when you start changing how you treat people, the people around you also start to change. When you make someone feel like they belong, it creates a ripple effect. They become more open, they might do the same for others. When we talk about belonging, it's really about connection. Making people feel like they are wanted, that they are truly belong in that space. Belonging is actually the core of diversity, equity, and inclusion. You can have diversity, you can have equity, you can have inclusion, but without belonging, none of it truly works. People can be present, but if they don't feel accepted or valued, the rest doesn't matter. So let me ask you this. How many people around you feel like they don't belong? And what are you gonna do about it? Because sometimes all it takes is one person to make someone feel like they are finally belong.